defining characteristic of anime is its versatility. One show might involve spirits of heroes as they battle for a mythical object that grants wishes, while another may simply showcase a group of high school girls trying to form a band. The point is, anime can be tailored for anyone. With that being said, certain topics do come up more than others. Anything involving a high school seems to be a perennial anime favorite. This review revolves around a show based on one of these common concepts, that is, a virtual reality supported game. In this type of anime, the characters are typically trapped in what basically amounts to be a game, and then the show focuses on them trying to escape or simply trying to survive in this virtual world. Usually, it ends up being that death in the virtual world ends up resulting in death in real life. Frankly, this really isn't a revolutionary story concept, which can make it difficult for shows to really stand out if they fall into this genre. The show I am reviewing today doesn't really stand out, but within the confines of the genre, manages to be pretty good. I'm talking about Overlord. I'm Bananaowns, and this is an Otaku Youth anime review. The story of Overlord involves the shutdown of an immensely popular MMORPG, Yggdrasil. The main character, Momonga, is one of the last members of his guild that continues to play the game. So this being the last day that the servers are up, Momonga decides to stay into the game until it forcibly logs him out. However, at the time of the shutdown, he finds that he's still logged in. Unable to log out and realizing that he no longer has access to a variety of menus, Momonga quickly realizes that he's trapped. To add on to the complexity of this issue, the various user-created NPCs located in his base begin to wake up. That is, they begin to develop personalities of their own, but all the while maintaining a fierce loyalty to Momonga. Wanting to see if any fellow players were trapped, Momonga quickly hatches a scheme to spread the name of his guild, Ainzul Gaon, to catch the attention of fellow trapped users. In order to explore this new world, Momonga poses as the adventurer Momon and joins the local adventurers guild to gain fame and money. That is the basic plot setup for Overlord. And it really is nothing out of the ordinary for this type of show. The main character is trapped and seeks to find other users. The means by which he goes to accomplish this does put a slight spin on the story, but still doesn't end up being anything revolutionary. There's almost a hint at a level of strategy employed, almost similar to Lelouch from Code Geass, but it never really manages to make it past that point. Overlord is fairly typical, but being typical doesn't mean it's not good. It is good. It's not breaking any new ground, but what it tells, it's great. The world is interesting, filled with various factions scheming to take one another out, and the setting can be surprisingly dark, or even some of the story elements. Overlord can be very grim during some scenes, especially some of the more brutal fight scenes as well. However, there are just as many comedic moments, in addition to the many grim fight scenes. This can be a bit jarring at first, but the two really do mesh together very well, and it kind of keeps the viewer on their toes. One can't decide if this is going to be a more comedic episode or a more serious episode. Overall, it's not anything that will draw more viewers towards it. It's not anything unique, but the story is good enough that it's entertaining. Overlord certainly has no shortage of characters. Between Momonga's servants and the various denizens of the world, there are too many to cover in a simple review. However, I'll discuss a few of the characters. The lead, Momonga, is the typical gamer. He was a fairly normal man with a job who also took pride in being good at this video game. In particular, he seemed to have a very good relationship with his fellow guildmates, and this kind of shows when he's pretty much the last one left, when the world is about to shut down. As a member of this fantasy world, this side is fairly limited. And what I mean by that is that his undead class actually starts to affect the way his emotions are portrayed in the series. Being part of the undead class results in almost a magical-like suppression of his emotions. He lacks empathy when it comes to pretty much anyone except for his servants. This actually is a fairly unique trait, but it doesn't get too much of a focus. It's mostly used for a running gag about one of the other characters making an advance on him. But it's actually a fairly serious issue. This guy is losing his emotions, he's losing his empathy. And I really think that there was a missed opportunity here in terms of exploring this aspect of the character. Instead, the series really focuses a large amount of time on his battle prowess, and again, it's fairly typical for the genre. The main character is overpowered, he's a god of this game, he's great at the game, and it's nothing new to have a character that can pretty much beat anyone. Momonga's head servant is the obsessive Albedo. So before the servers were shut down, well, allegedly shut down, Momonga actually reprogrammed Albedo's NPC character bio to say that she has a deep admiration, or, well, she's actually madly in love with Momonga. And naturally, once she develops her personality, it really shows. So as a result of this change, she mainly serves as waifu material, with a significant amount of actually pretty risque fan service, certainly more than typical. Kind of reminds me of the table scene from Code Geass at one point, but nothing that bad. So a lot of the comedy of the show involves her interactions with Momonga's and him rejecting her advances, or her fights with another servant named Shaltir for Momonga's affection. My favorite of the NPCs is Narborel. She acts as the human companion to Momonga as he poses as an adventurer. She holds an intense disdain for humans, which is mostly used for comedy's sake. This is mostly a result of when a human male tries to make an advance on her, and this is helped by basically Narbrel is just a badass in every single sense of the word. She gets plenty of time to showcase her combat ability in the series, and this really sets her apart from the other NPCs who have less screen time. She is loyal, but not to the ridiculous extent that Albedo is. And in one arc, she actually gets to showcase her full range of power, and it's pretty amazing. So Narborel is great. So overall, this is just a small selection of the large variety of characters that Overlord has, some of which are interesting, and, you know, like any show with a large cast of supporting characters, there's a lot that are kind of bland. No one character really manages to stand out too much, and I think they really did miss an opportunity to develop more of the emotionless side of Momonga, or at least his newfound lack of emotion. A second season would really help address some of these issues, but, you know, given it's Madhouse, who knows? The 2D animation is great. It's not the most beautiful show in existence, but it's animated very well. I have one overall problem with the animation of this show. It is the large presence of 3D animation. So many of the fight scenes use 3D models, and for the most part, it does not look that great. One fight scene features CG horses, and it looks very clunky and awkward. And it's especially jarring when the shots switch in between very well animated 2D horses to the awkward, bulky 3D models. If you do not like CG and anime, then this is probably not going to be your favorite show. Almost all the monsters are CG models. While some can look fine, it's an overall detriment to the series as a whole. I'm not completely against 3D models used in anime, but it really matters how they're used. Take the show God Eater, for example. The 3D monsters blend relatively well because of how the show is stylized. Overlord is not stylized in this respect, and as a result, the CG looks bad. I don't have a lot to say about the sound in Overlord. It fits the show in a way where there's no standout track, but at the same time, it's not detrimental to the show in any way. It simply is there and fits the mood whenever it needs to. I have one special thing to say about the sound of the show. I absolutely love the opening and the closing songs. The opening song is one of the catchiest opening songs that I've heard. It has like a pop punk / screamo vibe. The ending has more of an electronic vibe, at least at first, but maintains the pop screamo aesthetic very well. These two tracks really do begin and end each episode very, very well. So I suppose I should explain my rating system somewhat. Shows that I believe are must-watches receive my stamp of approval. These consist of my absolute favorites. Shows that are entertaining, but I'm not raving about, will typically receive a watch rating. This signifies that the show is worth watching, but I'm not foaming at the mouth to convince people to check it out. Now, this last category is probably not going to happen a lot, so I typically will review anime that at least interested me enough to finish the current run of episodes. I probably will not finish an anime that I give a don't watch rating to, and likely will not review said anime as well, so it's a bit of its own selection bias. With that explained, Overlord receives a watch rating. It's good, but not my favorite. Overlord is not groundbreaking, the story is not atypical, but overall is good at what it does. It can be extremely dark, but also extremely comedic. There's a wide cast of characters, although some of which could be developed more. The 2D animation is great, while the 3D animation is very out of place. The sound fits the show with a strong opening and ending. Overlord is not the best show, but it's a very entertaining watch. So, see you guys next week for another Otaku Youth anime review.